I went watch shopping in London on my birthday to buy a Rolex Explorer 36. I had done all the research, I was ready to pull the trigger on the day. I even made an appointment and called ahead. I'd even sold my birth year Seamaster to make this acquisition. And guess what? I didn't come home with a Rolex Explorer on my birthday. I came home with this. My first Cartier watch, and I want to go through the story of how this happened. Pretty remarkable story, but it's a story of fate. Alongside going to pick up this Cartier, or what I thought was going to be a Rolex, I also got hands-on with a lot of new releases that I didn't get a chance to get hands-on with, like the Octo Finissimo, like the new HydroConquest from Longines. So we're going to first go through all those new releases and what I actually think about them, and then I'll get into the Rolex story. And more importantly, guys, my first Cartier for my birthday. Damn, do I feel old now. But what would be a great gift is if you don't subscribe and you enjoy my content, hit the subscribe button right now. Let's get into the video. So look, first up with Longines, and I have to say Longines has been on absolute tear recently. The new HydroConquest for 2026 might be the best looking version of the watch they've ever done. I have mixed feelings about this. I feel like if it's your first luxury watch or your first luxury diver, this is a no-brainer. The bezel action was brilliant. Build quality was absolutely brilliant. The Milanese bracelet was better than my No Time to Die Milanese bracelet. It's got the micro adjust. You can take links out. Absolutely brilliant. I cannot deny that from a value perspective, you're getting a hell of a lot for your money. However, I feel like if you have a Seamaster, if you have a Submariner, it's not really the watch for you. And I don't think it's trying to be that watch. I think somebody with a Seamaster, I wouldn't really ever consider buying this watch. But if you are looking for a diver, really impressed by the Longines HydroConquest. I feel like, yes, they've toned down the character of the watch. It had a certain uniqueness with its numerals initially. It looks a little bit more like a Submariner. It looks a little bit more like a Seamaster. But don't let that deter you whatsoever. Get hands on with the watch. I really liked the Milanese bracelet. I think the 39mm diameter case, the proportions of that case were perfect for my wrist. Really worth going to check out if you want a new diver, if you want to enter that sort of entry luxury space. Brilliant release from Longines. Stop number 2 was Bvlgari. I wanted to get hands on with this since they released this at Watches and Wonders, and this is the Octo Finissimo at 37mm. I feel the Octo Finissimo has generally earned its place in serious horology conversations. The new 37mm version might be the one that finally makes sense for more wrists. Now, the issue I had with the Octo Finissimo previously is that it just occupied too much space on the wrist. It wasn't uncomfortable, but it just looked weird on the wrist. I just felt like it did. I still am not fully convinced by the watch, but this is so much more wearable. I was so impressed by how thin the watch was and how comfortable the watch was on the wrist. But from like a design perspective, some people might kill me for saying this, I just don't think it's my cup of tea. I have to say though that the wearing experience is possibly one of the most unique, and I'll leave it there. They created a completely new movement for this 37mm diameter case, slightly thicker than the larger version, but you really don't feel it. The finishing on the movement is outstanding, the micro rotor movement. I've got nothing bad to say about it other than my subjective opinion that it's really not my cup of tea. I think if this is a sort of watch a person gets if they've already got like 6 and they want just something completely different and they want to feel something completely different on their wrist. I've never worn anything like this in my life. Really, really impressed by it. I think for Bvlgari, I know it's typically looked upon as a jewelry brand. This is some serious watchmaking here with the Octo Finissimo, and the 37mm version of it has made it much more, I think, appealing for a small-wristed folk. Moving on to stop number 3, it was Bucherer. Their certified pre-owned section was really, really interesting. I went with my good friend Vishan, and we tried on a Kermit, and I tried on a 1970s Submariner with the red text, which was absolutely brilliant. I've always been a fan of the Kermit. I really like that sort of neon green bezel. I prefer it to the Starbucks and the newer iteration of that green bezel Submariner. But that sub, guys, oh my god, was it beautiful. The proportions of the case for me are just way better than the new Submariners. The new Submariners are far too bulky, and yeah, if I was ever to get a Submariner, I would go vintage 100% because of the proportions. It was just perfect. It was absolutely perfect. I mean, the footage hopefully showcased how beautiful it looked. It was £30,000 though. Stop number 4 now. Breitling recently came out with the new Chronomat, and I have to say, this is where I feel I was a little bit like, it didn't resonate with me whatsoever. I feel like the bracelet wasn't my taste at all. I think it's an improvement from the previous Chronomat. You know, the proportions of the case are slimmer. It's got a new manufacture movement there, which is cost certified. I think it's now a watch that is worth the money they're asking for it because of that new movement, because of the refinements in the proportions. But look, I just felt like the choice of colors when it comes to the dials and just the overall presence and the shininess of that lineup didn't really resonate with me. And so for me, I wasn't hugely impressed. However, I know that that's subjective, and I feel like many of you might be Chronomat fans and might be even fans of that bracelet, but it wasn't really something for me. You might be noticing that there's no sponsor in this video, and that's because I want you guys to be the new sponsor of the channel and keep the lights on here. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I want to be able to persuade my wife that I should continue putting the amount of time I've been putting into this channel. But look, no pressure whatsoever. I post twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, long form content. I'm going to continue and endeavor to do so because I'm absolutely enjoying it. At the very least, if you haven't already, please do subscribe and hit the bell icon and keep supporting the channel. And if you want to do that little bit more, some of you have mentioned, you now can join, and I'll be trying to make the membership as valuable as possible over the next couple of months, and I would love your input as well. Stop number 5, Time and Tide. I wanted to go and check out the new Beaucroft GMT, but more importantly, the Time and Tide edition. I spoke to Barney, who actually had a huge part to play in the designing of that dial. It's something I've never seen before, and I was really impressed. I was really impressed with the watch. I was really impressed with the dial. Again, so unique. 100% would recommend going to check it out. I don't think actually there's many left. I think he was saying there's only like 5 left, so they've almost sold the limited edition of 200 pieces, and I can understand why, because it was very unique. A watch that did catch my eye was a Serica 6190, which was a tuxedo dial. Again, really good proportions. This was the 38mm version of it, a COSC certified movement, but the dial for me was absolutely stunning. I think it had a lacquered enamel sort of style finish to it. I don't know if it was an enamel dial, but it definitely had the look and aesthetic of it. I think Serica is a brand that is quietly doing some great things, and I think if you want an understated tool watch that just has that accuracy and I guess the reliability of a COSC movement, I think it's a no-brainer. Stop number 6. This is where I went to Rolex. Now, I want to put this into context because the week before my birthday, I went to Rolex with my mum. She'd never been to a Rolex boutique before, and so I wanted her to try on some watches and just go through that whole experience. It was a brilliant day, and I tried on the Rolex Explorer 36, and it's a watch that I've wanted for such a long time, even before my No Time to Die Seamaster. It's not my favorite watch. No Time to Die Seamaster still takes that, but I've always wanted it, and I was told on that day the week before that they had several that I could walk out that day with one, and so I made the naive decision of making an appointment on my birthday to pick one up. They did say, to be fair, it's not guaranteed they'll have one on my birthday, but I wanted to pick it up on my birthday. More importantly, I wanted to think about it a little bit more, and I actually wanted to get rid of a couple of watches potentially to help fund the watch. It's a bloody expensive watch, guys. Let's not beat around the bush. Anyway, I walked in and he said, Jag, I'm sorry, we don't have any right now. And so what I ended up having to do was, like everybody else, put my name down for one. And honestly, it's not really anger. It's not even frustration, really. It was almost deflation on the day. I was like, damn, should I have just picked it up the week before? But anyway, I feel like this is a story of fate, because what ended up happening as a result of me not picking that Explorer up, I actually went to the famous Burlington Arcade, and I came across a Cartier that ever since I watched a video on YouTube around a year and a half, 2 years ago, it made me want to buy this Cartier, and it was by a creator called The Anachronist, and I've been watching him for years. I think he's absolutely brilliant, and he showcased the Santos 100, and prior to watching that video, I never knew what Cartier I wanted. I didn't really ever want a tank. I didn't really want the Santos. I felt like it was a little bit too all over the place in terms of everybody had one. There was a huge trend, and as a watch enthusiast, I feel like you always want something a little bit different, and I feel like this is that. And I tried one on in Paris a couple of years ago with my wife, and I absolutely loved it. I didn't pull the trigger there. I wasn't in the position to buy it. I also tried one in Bicester, because at the moment, if you don't know, this Santos 100 is discontinued, and many people would describe this Santos as being the uglier version of the watch. I certainly wouldn't describe it like that, and actually the Anachronist described it as being the Mantos, because I do feel like it's a little bit more masculine on the wrist, less curvaceous. It was just something that stuck out as soon as I saw it. The crazy thing is, I was talking to Vish, who was with me for the day, about this watch a couple of days before. I said, Vish, there's this Cartier Santos that I've always had my eye on, and I would love to show it you one day. We should check out, you know, Burlington Arcade, and if they have one, we should go and try it on. I didn't know they would have one there, but they had one in the storefront. And what happened was we went in and I tried it on. Something threw me off, and I think it was the leather band at the time, because it was just not me whatsoever. Like, I don't have much color in my collection. I'm quite understated. Even the rose gold for me kind of was like, I wanted the all steel version. However, it grew on me. It really did. And the first time I tried tried it on. I was like, looked at the price, box and papers, just recently serviced by Cartier. You get the 2 years warranty. It was a brilliant price considering it was a rose gold version of this, the bimetal version rose gold. Anyway, we went away, had a steak, had some burgers, and we talked about it. And I realized in that moment that I wanted the watch. And it was for several reasons. I've always, as I mentioned, kept an eye on this watch, but this particular example, I had a look on eBay, had a look online, and just the price, you know, it being full box and papers, and I was like, it's my birthday. I had just sold my Seamaster and I got very excited, I have to say. And I think Vishad, my good friend who was having the meal with me, could definitely sort of see my excitement. Anyway, we finished our meal and I said, you know what, Vish, I'm going to go and buy it. And so I went over back to Burlington Arcade, tried it on again. And the more time I spent with it in the watch, not only did I like the leather band more, but I started to realize that I think square watches are just so beautiful. This watch wears like a dream, genuinely wears like a dream. Let's get into this because this is my new Cartier Santos 100. It's the medium model, reference 2878. Stainless steel with 18 karat rose gold accents. The square case with those signature exposed screws, Roman numerals, blue tempered steel hands. By the way, with lume. How often do you say Cartier and lumed hands? Not very often. And that beautiful cabochon sapphire on the crown. As I mentioned, it wears like an absolute dream. It's got a 33mm diameter case, 37 if you include the crown. It's just over 10mm thick, 10.5mm thick by my calipers. Lug to lug is around 45mm, but the shot I want to show you, and I've tried to really show it, is how it curves and how it hugs my wrist. The lug to lug is almost perfect. The length of it is just so comfortable. And I have to say, the deploying clasp as well, it just fits the wrist like a glove. And the case shape for me is what really sells it. It's a little bit more industrial looking. It's a little bit more masculine. It's less curvaceous, as I mentioned, compared to the normal Santos. And it's just that little bit more different, isn't it? I think being discontinued, the condition it's in, I was just so happy with the purchase. It made my day. It made the birthday special. It was already a brilliant day going out, looking at some watches and getting hands-on with different watches. And as much as I didn't get the Rolex Explorer, by the way, the Rolex Explorer is going to come. I'm going to make sure it comes. My name's down for it now. I've made my peace with that. That is coming. And I'll talk about that watch in just a second because there's a little bit of a confusion there and I want your advice on that. But anyway, this watch, I haven't been able to get it off my wrist. I just think it really suits me. And Vish said the same thing. And by the way, if you ever want to buy a watch and you want to loan Vishan for the day, he's the biggest enabler in the world. No, but seriously, I mean, there's something about this second hand as well. This has the caliber 076 Cartier caliber 076, which is basically an ETA. Nothing special, but reliable and really easy to service. I asked actually the watchmaker in this boutique in Burlington Arcade what the accuracy was, and he showed me on the time graph +1, +2 seconds a day is what he was showing. So really accurate movement, and the fact that I know the servicing costs aren't going to be a lot of money, it's great to know. I'm just over the moon with it, guys. I keep looking at it on my wrist. I haven't been able to get it off my wrist now. It's been like 3 or 4 days since my birthday and now recording this. But I mentioned the second hand. I think it's because of the length of the second hand, but it just is such a smooth sweep compared to the Vertex, the small seconds on the Vertex, compared to my Omega Seamaster birth year, compared to my Breitling Top Time. It's just such a smooth sweep of the second hand, and I think it's because it's a short second hand, but maybe these ETA movements just have a smoother sweep. I don't know. I just absolutely love it. I can't believe I've got a gold watch. It's just so unlike me. But, you know, the rose gold is so subtle. In certain lights, it looks completely steel. In certain lights, it really shows and has that contrast. I love actually the leather band now on this, but I will be getting something different. Let me know in the comments what you would get. I'm thinking like a dark gray, a dark blue, even a dark green, you know, leather band. I'm going to Paris soon, so I might go to Cartier and actually get one from there. I think it makes sense. I absolutely love this crocodile. It's such good quality. It's the original Cartier band. But look, guys, that's why I think it was a story of fate, because if I'd bought the Explorer, I wouldn't have been able to get this Santos that I've had my eye on for over a year and a half, 2 years. Great price, just over £4,000, considering box and papers, a discontinued version. And I only was able to buy it because I got rid of one of my birth year watches, which, by the way, now I do not regret whatsoever. Maybe in a couple of years' time I'll regret it, but I just never wore the watch. Never wore it, and it was just sitting in my collection. And by the way, I will be doing a consolidation in my collection. I really feel like I want to go for more quality over quantity now. I want less. Less is more. I want to spend more time with my watches and spend less time in the morning thinking about what I want. So when that time comes, when I buy the Rolex Explorer, there may be other watches that I have to get rid of, and that'll be really interesting to see what I decide getting rid rid of at that time. Going back to the Rolex Explorer, I tried on a vintage one at the same place that I bought this Cartier. It was the reference 114270, 2002. It sat so differently on my wrist. Straighter lugs, actually a 36mm diameter case. The bracelet was jangly, hollow end links. The clasp was terrible, didn't have a micro adjust or anything like that. But what it did do, it opened my eyes up to a vintage version of the Rolex Explorer 36. And I want your guys' advice. Should I go for the new? Micro adjust, better movement, just it being bulletproof and just being a new Rolex Explorer 36? Or should I go with the one that made me feel a certain way? You can get, you know, tritium versions of this style that have patinaed over time. I really liked the straighter lugs because they looked a little bit more elegant, a little bit more, I think, dressy. Whereas the new Rolex Explorer with the larger numerals looks a lot more sportier and curvaceous and still amazing on the wrist, I have to say. I would love to know. Let me know in the comments if you own that older version of the Rolex Explorer 36 or if I should just wait and get the new version. That's something that I think I'm going to have to think about a little bit more. But look, guys, happy birthday to me. Thank you for being absolutely brilliant subscribers and viewers. As I've mentioned, if you want to support the channel, go and join the membership. I'm thinking about doing, you know, member-only live streams, member-only videos, also connecting with me on Instagram and having conversations there, but also potentially having polls, so members voting on topics and being able to decide what I do my videos on, maybe once or twice a month. I'm going to try my best to make it as valuable as possible, but it's just a way of supporting the channel, but no pressure whatsoever. If you've enjoyed the video, please do like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. I've been Jag from Jags Watches, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.